China has released rare footage of its DF-100 supersonic cruise missile, one of the People's Liberation Army PLA's most secretive and potentially most dangerous weapons against US warships and military bases in the region. The footage of the missile was aired as part of a PLA documentary this week, and it offers the clearest view yet since the missile's debut in 2019, because back then, only 2 seconds of official footage were made public before being completely deleted. The DF-100, sometimes referred to as the CJ-100, is a supersonic anti-ship cruise missile. The DF or Dongfeng is a prefix that is generally reserved for ballistic missiles, while CJ or Changjian designates land attack cruise missiles. It has a reported range of 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers and a cruising speed of Mach 4. That's around 4,900 kilometers per hour. At that speed, a target could be hit in roughly 40 minutes from launch. The DF-100's range enables strikes far beyond China's immediate periphery. This places major logistics hubs in Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea, along with US bases in Okinawa and Guam, as well as aircraft carriers operating deep in the Pacific, firmly within its strike zone. What's more, the DF-100 has a dual platform and can be deployed through land-based off-road launch vehicles or even from the H-69 bomber if air-based, which could effectively extend its strike range by 6,000 kilometers. And in the latest footage, the launch appears to take place in an urban setting. It's perhaps a rare shift from the remote locations typically used in PLA tests. According to experts, this could be a deliberate message that the DF-100 supersonic missile can be fired from anywhere, making it harder for adversaries to locate and destroy before launch. The missile is believed to be capable of hitting both moving ships and fixed high-value targets, from command centers to critical.
This is a book of Joel 3 and verse 9. It read, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hook into spear. Let the weak say, I am strong. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha, Wadash, and Abhana Selda, and the apostles of Git Mission who do well. A peace, blessing, and salutation to Yoakim who are pushing this truth to the four winds of the heaven and being at the forefront of this spiritual war, and to make sure Jerusalem is established as a praise here on earth again, as in the days of old. So it seems like the Chinese people, man, they are putting to an end. It's not just the Chinese. What I want to say is, it seems like the axis of evil is winning. See, that was the video. There is another video here about Russia, and it comes from Redacted. I think everybody know about Redacted. Putin just scored the biggest Russia victory of the war. The Russians have won the war in Ukraine, man. That's why America, she was begging Putin to negotiate. And in the upcoming negotiation, it seems like the Russians have the upper hand. And what's the axis of evil? The axis of evil is like when you go back to audio 1, audio 2, it was called the basically the Axis alliance. You had the Allied and the Axis alliance. Back then, the Allied were known as the triple entity. So we have the triple entity and the Axis alliance. So the Axis of alliance right now is called the Axis of evil. It includes Russia, China, and all of them countries, man. North Korea, Iran, see, and it seems like the axis of evil is winning, and the axis of evil, she is on the streak. For example, consider Iran, the 11 war between Iran and Israel. Militarily, is considered that the state of Israel was defeated strategically. In Ukraine, yes, Russia is winning. In the Far East, yes, China is winning, economically and militarily. They have just stated that the Dongfeng 100, in which the Dongfeng 100, it can put to an end the America power projection, because the America power projection is dominance on the Great Waters, especially on the Great Sea, the Pacific and the Atlantic. That's why NATO is considered the North Atlantic treaty. But in the Pacific, America has a long-standing dominance, including into that the Monroe Doctrine, in which no originally it was no European country supposed to pressure any military existence on the Western Hemisphere. But it was so no country, basically, not just the European countries, because back then the European country in Russia was considered European back then. They were stronger. China back then, they used to be peasant. And I have some few analytical going to Joel Shi and 10 beat your approach into sword and your pruning hook into spear. Let the weak say I'm strong. So I have actually, at first I asked you about the Dongfeng 100 supersonic or hypersonic. The Chinese are claiming that it is a hypersonic, but the West are saying it is a supersonic. So the difference between a hypersonic and a supersonic missile, a supersonic missile, it is Mach 1 to Mach 5. And Mach 1 is the speed of sound. Mach 5 is the speed of sound times 5. So a hypersonic missile is Mach 5 and above, like the Zircon missile, the Avangard missile from Russia. So I asked another question: why are the Chinese literally considered peasant? You see, so they said historically, when people talk about the Chinese being considered peasant, they are usually referring to China long agricultural history, and it is a social structure, man. The Chinese people are socially peasant. You see, that's what Moab really is, man. Moab is my worship pot. You see? So this is the book of Psalm 60, and verse 8. It read, Moab is my worship pot, over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistia are trying for thou because of me. You see? So Moab is a peasant, man. A worship pot is basically it's like a servant who is around the house doing some chores, called chores or chores around the house, doing this, moving that, is fixing sinks. If let's say a sink in the toilet is broken, or a pipe, let's say a pipe in the toilet is broken, he is there. You have, let's say, goat, or you have goats, you have sheep, you have anything, man. He is around the house doing some menial work. That's Moab. You see, that's a literal meaning, and you have, because that scripture is twofold, and you have another meaning, which it simply means a Moab in this last day, he is going to wash clean the West when it comes to finance and technology. And you see the Chinese technology, she have gone through a quantum leap. You see, it has gone through a quantum leap to the point that Esau is in disbelief. When they go over there in China, for example, the saga which happened with TikTok, the Chinese people were exposing the West as the West is finished technologically. And how it happened is, you go back during the time of Nixon, they moved the manufacturing base to China in order to get cheap labor. At that time, America was booming economically. So, if you are making money, you don't want to work, you find somebody who is cheap. That was Moab back then. You see, going back to Moab being a servant, they had no problem doing that. You see, so the condition was for America, they should share what we call the core technology. If we want to invest in China, we should share the core technology. So through that, Moab did what we call there is a word for it. There is like plagiarism. There is another word there. We call it intellectual. There is something known as intellectual property, and if you steal that, there is a word for it. Intellectual theft or something like that. So they stole the core technology. And that's why Moab, back in the early 2000s, Moab was copying. Right now, they went from copying to produce their own thing. But Esau, he still stuck that Moab is copying. No, they have done that. You see? And now they are taking a quantum leap and overcoming the West. That's what it means by Moab being a washing pot. The West is through. They have taken the supply chain. They are moving to take over the great waters, man. And in order for you to do that, you need to have muscles. And that's what is happening here. They are flexing their muscles in order for you to guard, let's say, your supply chain. In order for you to be a superpower, in order for you to be a great economy. I'm not saying that Moab will take over America and rule the world. No, I'm just saying that's the projection, at least. You see, in order for you to be able to be a great economic power, you need to have a military. It goes hand in hand. That's why not just Rome, in which America is more than Rome, not just Rome, in which we understand Rome have three power structure. You have the military, you have the religion, and you have the finance. Basically, if we break it down, every major empire had this three power structure. You see, on the basic level, the same thing with Moab. You can't just have a great economy without military. You see, you need the military to back your economy, man. You see? So, back to the scriptures. You see? Let me get a scripture for you. Let me see. So, this is Jeremiah 51. I started verse 1. Thus says the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me a destroying wind, and I will send unto Babylon a fanner, and Moab with nothing but a fanner, man. That shall furnish her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So the day of trouble is approaching, man, in which America will be compassed round about. And geographically, America is isolated, man. You see, America is isolated, so it's going to be pure hell over there. So I hope you are edified. On to the next.